A public service announcement, please read, citizens. It has come to our attention that there have been various reports involving members of your community, www.reddit.com/r/NoSleep, in which unusual occurrences within the borders of the United States of America have been reported. These reports involve, but are not limited to, odd behavior of your fellow citizens, strange smells and sounds, as well as interaction with supposed government agents. Please rest assured that we are currently investigating this matter and we have found no cause to be alarmed. Please disregard these accounts, as they are baseless hearsay and fraudulent in nature. Be aware that in the case of an actual emergency, your local officials will notify you through the proper channels. Please remain calm and dismiss any additional claims that these individuals may make. Rest assured that we are currently in the process of tracking and apprehending the perpetrators involved in this fraudulent behavior. Thank you for your time and attention in this matter. Sincerely, Jonathan Smith, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Bow-legged humanoid just came across a creature walking on two bowed legs while walking my dog with my fiancé. It seemed to have an unnatural gait to it, and as it passed by two separate streetlights, they shut off. After he turned a corner out of sight, they came back on, and we waited for a few minutes to see if it would come back around. When it didn't, we started to head back. As we approached my house, I happened to look back and see the creature. It was way closer this time, about 40 feet away and moving towards us completely silently. It had a jagged way of walking and was entirely silhouetted. It seemed to have changed from a bow-legged walk to more of a reverse kneecap sort of stance, like a fawn. What do you guys think? I can't think of anything that matches what I just saw tonight, but I definitely got a bad vibe from it. Civil War soldiers walking in front of our farmhouse 100 years after the end of the war. I was a child living on a gravel road in southern Ohio in the late 1950s to early 1960s. At times, my grandmother would tell me to get to the front porch. "They're coming," she'd say. Soon about 30 or so Civil War soldiers in blue would walk by the house in broad daylight, totally physical. Kicking up rocks on the dirt road, talking among themselves, some in small groups and some alone. Uniforms torn and dirty. They never responded to us. They walked on, behind our barn, then up over the hill. This happened many times over the years. Decades later, I saw a documentary on the Civil War and learned that those soldiers had to often walk home hundreds of miles. Many that did survive the war did not survive the long walk home. I always wondered if these boys were soldiers still trying to get home. I'm recording some of my life events, including this encounter. Here is the link. Encounters in homes. The scariest humanoid encounters I've read of are ones involving the witness being in their house, usually the bedroom at night, and then something that simply doesn't belong appears. These include the very strange phenomenon bedroom animals that I've seen talk of here. These include a hippo head coming out of a closet, an ape wearing overalls, and a zebra man. Then there are encounters with entities that look like M*Pets, one involving Ernie coming out of a closet and tickling the witness, which might have been sleep paralysis. One unique entity was this meat man that a 4chaner described seeing in their bathroom that had interacted with the sink as they heard it turn on. Anyone know of encounters like these? I find them fascinating. Experience with the Amish. I was born into an Amish society. People have them all mistaken. They are certainly not harmless people. They are in fact very dangerous to their own members. If you follow all their rules perfectly and never question what has been put in place, you'll do fine. However, if you even think about trying to step out the bubble, you will be faced with resistance. I never got my social security number or my birth certificate, which has made it very tough for me. They also do very manipulative things such as frequent shunning as punishment and forced prayer. I tried to run away and was caught and forced to undergo a form of torture where they locked me in a dark room, somewhere where many people were, and had everyone knock on the walls and laugh. It was very traumatizing and cruel. I eventually escaped and am safe, but I just want you guys to be aware of the truth. Faceless man. I remember a few years ago when I was maybe 25, I woke up from a nap on the couch, in the daytime. In front of me was a shadow figure, humanoid. Had no face or distinct features. I'm no stranger to sleep paralysis and have had some odd dreams and stuff like that, so I chalked this up to some waking illusion. I remember trying to blink the thing away, and after a few seconds it did disappear, but it didn't go away immediately. This encounter was very strange to me because I sat up and could see my surroundings. I was awake, but I could still see this figure. A gray shadow man, hovering in front of me. Anyone else experienced this sort of thing before? Grandfather left a message on an answer machine a year after passing away. I figured I would share this story so close to Halloween. This happened in the early 2000s, so answer machines were common. My uncle was checking his answer machine after work, and saw that there was a new message. He checked it to find it was from his father, my grandfather. He basically said that he was sitting with his dog, and just wondering what my uncle was up to. We of course just figured it was an old message, but he told us that it was a new answer machine that he bought a few months earlier. Also a few days or a week earlier before the message, he had to put the dog down. We still don't know what or how this happened, but it did help us get through that first year. Guy followed me from gym to grocery store to my home. Advice. I hope this is okay to post here. I'm a small woman, 28. There is a guy at the gym who I've noticed follows me around while I work out. Today I noticed he was sticking around longer than usual. I ended my workout and noticed he was sitting in his car. I got in my car and drove away. He ducked so I didn't see him as I drove by. I brushed it off and went to the grocery store. When I came out he was parked a couple stalls away, again ducking but watching me. My hairs raised at this point. I got in my car and started driving home. He followed me all the way to my apartment. I ran inside and locked the door and watched him circle my parking lot 3 times. My apartment complex has a lot of doors, so I don't think he knows which one is mine. What do I do here? Thanks. Harmful intentions or just socially awkward. I was walking to the lobby of the hotel I'm staying at and all of a sudden I hear, "Hey baby." And when I turn around it's this lady that I have never seen before. She starts talking about how her and a few friends are going to the local cemetery and asked I wanted to join. She then asked for my name and I said I don't know you and I have to go talk to the hotel because I need to check in. She immediately left. I live part-time in a tourist town, so I'm used to people asking me about directions, things to do and places to eat. But this encounter set me on edge. Did this lady have ill intentions or am I just being paranoid? Have you ever been able to breathe underwater? I had an experience as a child where I found myself underwater without the need to breathe. My father had thrown me in a lake before I knew how to swim. I sank to the bottom and was amazed to find, after the panic passed, that I was just fine. A comment I saw sparked this Eerie, so I made a post in r/solnexus, https://www.reddit.com/r/solnexus/comment/ada9m9c/have_able_ever_to_breathe_underwater, and a second in r/c_s_t, https://www.reddit.com/r/c_underscore/c_able_to_breathe_underwater, or another dozen-ish people reported that they too had experienced something similar. But that's impossible, right? So I ask yet again, have you ever been able to breathe underwater? *4. I didn't drown and start to hallucinate, nor did everyone else who shared this experience. You're not an expert on my experiences, so don't try to be *. I heard screaming noises out of a moving truck. Hi everyone, this happened to me about an hour ago and can't seem to wrap my head around it. I was riding my moped back to my house when I pulled up to a red light. Next to me there was a budget moving truck, and before I could make a right on red I heard multiple loud bangs and screams coming from the back of the truck. There was a pedestrian who also noticed it, and as soon as we turned our attention to the drivers the light turned green and they took off pretty quickly. I wasn't able to get a license plate because everything happened so fast, but I can't seem to shake the thought of someone screaming for help in the back of that truck. It almost feels straight out of a movie. Anyways, I wanted to know what you guys thought of it, or if you've ever had an encounter like this before. What did you do? I regret asking my mother about who my father was. My mother never talked about my father, but she had a stable job and managed to raise me. My mother was never popular with men in the sense of attractiveness and relationships. My mother worked with dead bodies with the police force. She was one of those people who confirmed how a person died. She is amazing at her job. My mother and a few of her other female colleagues who also worked with dead bodies went on a different kind of speed dating to find someone to mate with. Did you know a male sperm can survive inside a dead man for many hours and survive even longer inside a woman? Well, my mother and her female colleagues out of desperation gathered up many newly dead males and extracted their sperm. They injected these dead men's sperm into themselves. My mother became pregnant with me. Some of the other women weren't so lucky. I am the son of a dead man. I wish I never asked. I was 21. I'm a 37M. This was when I had just moved to Columbus, Ohio to move in with my half-brother and his girlfriend, which ended up being a nightmare. They are horrible, trashy, entitled people. But that's a different story on its own. So I'd find things to do during the day to avoid them. I'd pretend I had a volunteering job at the library because I knew they'd never go. Sometimes I'd just go on long walks. I was at some random park walking around. A creepy guy in a red car pulled up to me and started making small talk. Then he asked if I wanted to hang out. I told him I had to be somewhere. He then asked how old I was. I told him 21. He replied, "Oh, I thought you'd be like 15. It wasn't anything too abrasive, but his demeanor and that statement stuck with me years later. This would have been around June-July 2007. I went to a guy's place, got a bad vibe not from him, and decided to look up the building. I met a guy and I was really comfortable around him. We hung out for a few hours, in public. After a few days of hanging out, he invites me to his apartment. The building was sketchy to begin with. But when I was there I felt good in his company. He had a heavy-duty lock, etc. Well, I just start getting this awful feeling out of nowhere. It's just like a feeling of something terrible happened. I keep trying to ignore it. He tells me a woman got M***ed in the building. That happened before he was there. I decided to look up the building when I got home. A woman was M***ed there years ago. In less than 2 months before I visited there, someone was stabbed and K***led in that building. I had no idea about that, but just had an awful sad feeling when I first went there. I had it every time as well. I work for Spooked Podcast and I'd love to hear your stories. Snap Judgment Presents Spooked is currently taking submissions for its 8th season. If you have a unique paranormal experience, we'd like to hear it. This season we're looking for stories about cryptids, long-term/repeat hauntings, UAP/UFOs, family curses, encounters with local legends, and any other inexplicable phenomena told by reliable sources. If you'd like to be considered as a featured storyteller, please comment below with a synopsis of your story between now and May 15th. If you're selected, I'll DM you about how to move forward with our production team. Storytellers do not receive monetary compensation for their submissions, but are allowed to promote relevant projects on their featured episode. No stories relayed to me or to the producers will be published or reproduced in any way unless we receive your explicit consent. Storytellers retain copyrights of their stories. Learn more about Snap Judgment Presents Spooked at our website, or listen to episodes on Spotify, Google Play, Apple, or anywhere you find podcasts.